we did say that this was a Q&A. We have a few questions that came in offline that I can highlight for you guys. So format will just be I'll throw out a question, and whoever feels most capable of answering can pipe up. First question is who should use Spokestack Maker? I can take that one, actually. We created Spokestack Maker for developers, specifically for independent developers, for startups, for people who are prototyping new applications, for students. So we've actually had like a good amount of uptake in students using Spokestack as part of the class projects. And so for all these people, what's important is like, I want components of a voice interface, and obviously I want it to be a custom voice interface. I don't want to break the bank in making this. So, Josh hinted at the previous cost of creating these custom models and running them. And then they also want, a full platform support in their favorite programming language. So if you're identifying with, any set of those, then we made Spokestack Maker for you. We don't want this to be a corporate tool. This isn't an enterprise tool. This is something that we made for the creators and the makers and the prototypers and the startups out there, the independent developers. So we want to put it out there for you to use and see what you're going to make. And that's really motivating for us to give this tool out there. And we're excited about what people are already using it for and what see it grow. Next question, what platforms can I run the models I create in Maker? I'll throw it to the panel.
Well, iOS, Android, React Native, Node, /browser, and am I forgetting one? Python, yep. That one's good.
Nice. Yes, great. Thank you, Timmy. What languages do you support?
Well, it depends sort of, because a lot of these platforms use multiple languages. Like you can write an Android app in Java or Kotlin. You can write a iOS app, I think, still in Objective-C if you really want to. So we support all the languages that those platforms support. For Android and iOS, the libraries are written themselves in Java and Swift / Objective-C where absolutely necessary, respectively. The React Native library is a mix of native Kotlin and Swift and JavaScript. Correct, Timmy?
Yep.
And there's TypeScript for the Node library.
And then if you mean non-English, we're looking at multilingual support soon.
Yeah, mostly still experimental at this point, but working towards it.
Well, importantly, wake-word and keyword are multilingual off the bat. So you already got that going on for wake-word and keyword, which brings you a good bit of the way into having multilingual voice interfaces. So you can activate your software with in any language, really with any sounds, and then you can issue commands to your software, voice commands in any language using our keyword models that you train in Maker. So
that's true. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. If you use the platform provided on device ASR, usually that will support whatever language your device is set to.
Right. And I know, Josh and Will, that you guys have been working with some customers who have been asking for multilingual NLU, and you've had some good results from that, particularly around Romance languages. Is that correct?
So far, well, we've had, let's see, some of those would have been Romance. One would be Slavic Germanic. No CJK yet. I know the libraries will be a little behind on that. We'll have to update the libraries for true CJK support. But yeah, European languages are so far so good.
Yeah. So, I mean, the answer is a little bit complicated. Yes, there is multilingual support. It does depend on the component, but multilingual is something that we are working on actively. And the same for supporting other programming languages and platforms. We've gotten a few requests for Flutter, and that's an intriguing platform to examine doing support on. So yeah, thanks for those answers. I think this is probably a good question for Will. What embedded devices do you support?
So right now we work on the Raspberry Pi 4, any of the larger ones. It works pretty well on the Zero, but then you go smarter than that, like the Pico or some of the other devices. I just blanked, sorry. That run MicroPython. We actually don't run in MicroPython right now, but that's something we're looking at. Or maybe just spinning off a embedded library that's separate, strictly for the smallest embedded devices.
Cool. A question. This is actually a question we get a good bit. How is Spokestack Maker different from what Jovo and Rasa are doing? I can answer that one. So Jovo and Rasa are conversation and NLU designers. So they specialize in connecting the products of the ASR, the transcripts, and then giving your software the ability to respond to what's being said using NLU, and then telling your software what to say back in response. That's dialogue management. So they specialize in the dialogue management and NLU components. We actually interop with both of Jovo and Rasa, so you can design your conversation in them. You can actually export into Spokestack and run your NLU inside of Spokestack and run your dialogue management through Jovo or Rasa to get back your responses, and then use Spokestack TTS to actually speak your responses. So Maker is different from Jovo and Rasa in that it supports wake word, keyword, ASR, NLU, TTS. Jovo and Rasa are much more focused on just the NLU and dialogue management pieces. Anybody want to add anything to that? Cool. Okay, another question. How is Maker different from Siri and Google Assistant? Siri and Google Assistant, those are kind of those are general purpose, platform specific, like virtual assistants, and so it's kind of what Spokestack is doing is not intended as general purpose. It's intended to be limited to your software. So putting a voice interface for your software, not answering any question possible, like my kids do with Alexa. So basically, you can think of them as like general purpose virtual assistants. You can think of Spokestack and what you can make with Spokestack Maker as putting voice interfaces into your software, which, if you've ever tried it before, is impossible using Siri and Google Assistant. You can actually open your app, for example, using Siri. And same with Google Assistant. You can open it with them, but the conversation actually stops once you open your app. So they don't actually provide any more voice interactivity once your app is open. You can, with Siri, you can like donate intents and whatnot back into Siri from your app, and you can, but then your user is just toggling back and forth between Siri, interacting with Siri and interacting with your app. It's a confusing experience, which is why you don't see a lot of people supporting it or even using it. So what Spokestack does is different. Spokestack gives you a voice interface so that your user can interact via voice directly with your app. There's no third party that they have to. If you're having a one-on-one conversation, like a third person butting in and telling you what you actually meant with each other, that's not great in a party, and it's also not great, for your software.
And it's worth saying that there's a useful symbiosis between Spokestack and the platform assistants, because opening your app, or even doing what they're trying to do now, which is deep link shortcuts into specific app features, is great. So you can start the experience with your voice on your phone, and then your app can take over once Siri or Google Assistant's part is done. And that's what we're trying to emphasize here, that once the user is in your app, it should be an experience that's mediated by you, not by the platform. And the platforms don't even appear interested in helping you do that via voice currently anyways. So they all have interfaces that you can use. You can use their ASR and their TTS piecemeal if you want, but it's not that pleasant. And that's why we have a library to wrap those things for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thanks, Josh. Okay, another question coming in. For an advertising agency, what's the use case for Spokestack Maker for that sort of potential customer?
I'm happy to take that one, but I don't want to take it away from anyone else. If anyone else wants to, no,
go for it.
No, okay. I actually think the Maker tier is a great introduction for an agency. It's a great use case, because what an agency does, what a contracting firm does, is make apps on behalf of clients. And so you want to be able to show your clients the app's full feature set. But in advertising that you make voice interfaces, you obviously have to show the whole experience, including ASR, NLU, and the voice thing. With Maker, you can advertise as an agency that you can provide a custom branded voice for your app, a custom branded wake word for your app, or even limited keyword ASR like we talked about earlier. And you can demo all of those things in your demo using a subscription to Maker, which is currently $10 a month or $100 a year. You can demo those very advanced features without a huge investment up front. And then if the client wants to go whole hog on it and get a Hollywood actor in a studio to record a custom branded voice that's a higher quality, or that they have a specific actor that they use, they can go ahead and do that. And you could still use that voice via Spokestack. But it's the demo opportunity that I think is huge for agencies.
Great, that's a great answer. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, this one's a fun one. We're coming to the end. What's the weirdest thing you think Maker could be used for? I am interested in this question as well.
I was going to say, you wrote that one for yourself, didn't you? I happen to know. Will's got a good one or two, I think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. So one of the things I thought about is doing a wake meow. It's like, basically I have cats, and so you record your cats for the wake word, and then you can, well, actually you could use keyword model if you have multiple cats, so then you can classify which cat is meowing at that time.
That's great. Wake meow. Anybody else have a weird thing that they've thought of?
I mean, you could in theory use it to tune an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we've talked about.
Yep. Yeah, you totally could. Again, these tools, especially keyword and wake word, are really sound recognition and classification tools. And so, if you think more generally, a sound is an instrument notes or chord, and so you can classify that and tell whether you're sharp or flat or on Zoom. Cool. I think that's it for the questions. Thank you all for participating.